Welcome back, once again, adventurers, to Let's Play Robotics Notes Elite. In the last episode, Kaito heard the mysterious voice of the strange girl again over his Pokecom, and once again decided to search throughout Uchigaoka Park to try and find her once and for all. And he did find her, and in one of the abandoned buildings. Sort of. I mean, she's there, but she's not really there. Yeah. Turns out that the mystery girl is named Irie, and she just happens to be an AI. A program that not only exists within Kaito's Pokecom, but also exists within the confines of the building itself. On top of that, the mystery behind Sister Centipede has also been solved. It seems that Sister Centipede is another aspect of Irie's programming, albeit a much more formal one. But that's not all that was found. It was a report that was found. But a report that Kaito has not yet read, although now that he's acquired it, yeah, there is no putting that genie back in the bottle. But now we're back in Subaru Hidaka's abode, but not with Subaru himself, but rather Hiromu Hidaka. By the time I return home from fishing, it's just before noon. I've been getting home around this time for years now. A decade ago, I'd usually be back at afternoon. The reason is simple. Recently, the catches have been underwhelming. Well, that tends to happen with fishing. And compared to a decade ago, my earnings have fallen by almost half. Oh dear. After all that wasted effort, I find myself dragging my feet before sitting on the tatami mat in front of the television. There's already a cold bottle of beer on the table for me. Yeah, this is Subaru's stern father. And, there has been the notable absence of Mrs. Hidaka as well. I always have a beer after returning from fishing. It's my daily custom. That's good for you, sir. I myself can't actually, drink alcohol during the day. Only in the evenings. Otherwise, I feel really terrible. My wife is hurriedly preparing lunch in the kitchen. Ah, so she is here. Because she wasn't, well, she might have been there in the kitchen when Subaru and Hiromu were talking previously. But given the atmosphere of the household, I would have thought she was either dead or divorced, but that doesn't seem to be the case, which is actually rather fortunate. There's no sign of my parents who live with us. I must be working out in the fields. I take a pack of cigarettes out from my pocket for a smoke, but there's none left inside.
Oi! Tabako!
You do know smoking is bad for you.
Hi!
A response from my wife in the kitchen is delayed. She sounds like she can't stop what she's doing, probably because, yeah, she's cooking something. And you don't want to leave cooking unattended. That is a pro tip from me. But also surprised that Subaru's grandparents are also living in this place as well.
ああ、いい。自分で取ってくる。
Irritated, I stand up and head to the shelf by the entrance where the carton is stored. And already quite a few cigarette butts in that ashtray there. At least the remote's on the table and not on the floor. That's always a good sign. On the way I pass by my son's room. The sliding door is open. For some reason I stop. My son Subaru is at school around this time, so naturally he isn't in his room. Hiromu is still suspicious that Subaru hasn't given up hobby robots like he'd promised. Unless my morning fishing trip gets cancelled, I never see my son during the morning hours. I'm concerned as Subaru has been acting strangely ever since he went to Kagoshima at the end of June. He's been somewhat restless, unable to focus even. In particular, I've noticed that he's been avoiding making eye contact with me. Yeah. Subaru has more than his fair share of tells, especially when he's nervous. When I ask my wife if she knows anything, she just gives me stupid answers like he's just at that age. As his father, I'm a little concerned. After he graduates, there'll be an issue if he didn't come fishing with me. Unfortunately, Hiromu, Subaru has other plans. And while you may disagree with those plans on principle, I think if you knew the reason behind those plans, you might understand just a little. Because after all, Subaru, while he has been defying his father in dabbling in hobby robots, which is his own passion, he's been winning bout after bout as Mr. Pleiades. And with victory comes prize money. Money that probably is more earned from those bouts than fishing. Yeah. He's inheriting my work after all. My wife wants to send him to college, but we don't have the money for that. If only you knew Hiromu. You might hate him at first, but when you realize why he's done it, yeah, I know I'm repeating what I already said, but that's why I'm especially concerned about my son's distant attitude. Because Subaru doesn't want to disappoint Hiromu, but at the same time he wants to live his own life and pursue his own path to the future. There was a time when Subaru was extremely rebellious. Rebellious by certain standards, I think. He said he wanted to go to university for robotics engineering, but I naturally opposed this fiercely. So since that's happened once before, I'm worried he might say something ridiculous again. I understand your thinking, Hiromu. I really do. But this isn't the way. For reasons even I don't really know, I enter my son's room. It's a tidy and clean room, with few personal decorations to speak of. In fact, it's so clean, I find it hard to believe it belongs to a young man his age. That's Subaru for you. My son can be pretty responsible in some ways, and diligent. He's completely different from me in that sense. He must get that from his mother. On the domestic side. What am I doing, snooping around my son's room? What am I, a jilted lover? What's the point of this? You still have suspicions. Subaru once made me a promise. He said that after he graduates, he'd inherit my work. I know it's what you want, Hiromu. But you said it yourself, work has been drying up. And your earnings have dried up with it. Isn't it a father's duty to trust his son? I sighed, then began to take my leave. Just then, a piece of paper sticking out of a textbook on his study desk enters my line of sight. Oh no. My son's room is tidy, so this one thing stands out like a sore thumb. It draws my attention. Without thinking too much, I pulled a piece of paper out. I assumed it was a test sheet or something, but it isn't. My son's handwriting is a list of difficult words. The proposals that he made to Akio. Now granted, Subaru could actually explain this. This isn't actually entirely a smoking gun in my opinion. If, however, this was detailed plans for M45, as well as a diagram of the Mr. Pleiades gimmick, then we would have problems, but this proposal was rejected. Almost like some kind of code.
Hmm?
I'm a fisherman, so I ain't too educated. I have no idea what any of this says. I wasn't going to say anything, Hiromu, but, well, I don't have to anymore. But, we'll talk for a second. The Committee of Zero patch, before that, Subaru's handwriting would all be in Japanese kanji, albeit in a very eloquent and elegant design even for Hiromu. But thanks to the patch, it's all in English. Um, which, yeah, which would even more explain Hiromu's difficulty to read it. But I do know what he's writing about.
ロボットか。
Again, he could explain this. There is a way to diffuse this situation on his end. Although I wonder if Hiromu will see it that way. And we're back at the school with Kaito and Junna.
混乱に乗じて密かに緩やかに完膚なきまでに人類社会を崩壊させる計画が実行されてしまう恐れがあるのだ。
Now that was a line out of the Halloween Kiyoma playbook if ever I've heard one. Daitoko-san is reading the text on my Pokecom screen out loud. I figured an urban legend maniac like her might know something. In the end, curiosity got the better of me, and I read all of the Kimijima report. So that was written by Kou. Let's see. This report will serve as a backup in the event that I am killed. Someone is threatening me. They are cleverly concealing themselves, yet I perceive a psychological and mental oppression against me. It is likely an assault from electromagnetic wave weaponry. I do not know when you are reading this. Perhaps the One World Order has already been established by the time you are. Nonetheless, it is likely I will no longer be a part of this world. I will impart the truth that I will impart here the truth that should such an occurrence come to pass. NASA is hiding an important truth from the public and has refused to report it. The Ulysses project was not just about researching the sun. In November of 2000, I'm skipping ahead. What am I doing? Sorry about that. God damn it. What have I done? Hold on, one moment. I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to go back, but yeah. Anyway, let's start that again, shall we, and just ignore the fact that that happened. The Ulysses project was not just about researching the sun. In November of 2000, while NASA was studying the sun's Antarctic circle, they witnessed magnetic activity. Magnetic monopolies undeniably existed there, yes, much like those often explored in science fiction. However, NASA just laughed it off, claiming it was fraudulent. They utilized the media to thoroughly broadcast propaganda all across the world, making people believe that the partially leaked truth was a complete fabrication. This incident of information control was no doubt operated from behind the scenes by Tavistock. In the end, their propaganda succeeded. As of the current year 2009, the discovery of the monopole has been reduced to an urban legend. However, this is the truth. The sun is on the verge of producing several discharges. According to scientific evidence, there will be successive major solar storms that will occur in 2012, 2015, 2019, and 2020, all of which will severely affect the Earth and its magnetosphere. If you believe this to be a lie, I request that you look up at the night sky past the year 2012. If you do so, you will see auroras occurring all over the world. NASA holds detailed, incredibly grave data regarding the solar storm forecast, but will continue to conceal it due to external pressure from certain organizations. The solar storm in 2012 will be said to have never happened, and there will be several institutions that will utilize the solar storm as part of their terrorist plots. This can be expected particularly in 2015, which is when an extremely large solar storm will hit. Warnings are meaningless. It cannot be stopped unless they are prosecuted. Unbeknownst to the world, an unseen force from the sun will arrive and bring about a crisis on a global scale. No information will be provided. Many people will be left to die. That is merely the trigger. Taking advantage of the chaos, a much greater threat will present itself. A secret project that will slowly bring about the collapse of human society in its entirety. Now, there are some terms in this report that I have seen before, although they're new to Kaito and Junna. And particularly, there is one term that has me grievously concerned. A term that I never expected to be in this report, but it is in here. The contents of the report struck me as something that Daitoku-san would be introduced into. And we got a new tip. Let us see. Propaganda. The propagation of a particular ideology often used for the spread of political or religious principles and beliefs. The use of the mass media to manipulate public opinion falls under this definition. This method of propagating information first saw use in the Roman Empire, but ever since the 20th century and the advent of 2 world wars, the tactic has expanded and grown all the more sophisticated. In some cases, the propaganda being spread is not necessarily true. If the principles and ideas of the propaganda will still be conveyed properly and it is advantageous to the propagandist, false information can be nonchalantly mixed into the content as well as slander against the enemy party. Anyway, back to the report.
Do?
That's not surprising given the language, and also it doesn't pertain to any urban legend that I think you're familiar with, Junna.
なんかさ、妄想炸裂って感じがするわけよ。
Yes, indeed. At first glance, it just sounds like a bunch of Chunibyu gobbledygook. But after what I've been through, I'm not so eager to dismiss it so lightly.
でもオーロラのことについて書かれてあるけど、これ当たってるよ。
Indeed it did. She's right, it did. Since 2012, the sun has been highly active. That's made the aurora visible at even lower latitudes. Latitude. Lines to indicate coordinates on Earth. Latitude lines run parallel to the equator. Setting the equator at 0 degrees, it is separated into north and south by 180 degrees each. The North Pole is 90 degrees north and the South Pole is 90 degrees south. Latitude is compared with the vertical lines that run perpendicular to the equator known as longitude. If this file really was written in 2009, that means it accurately predicted what happened.
あと太陽嵐のことも。
Yes, indeed.
あ、そうだよ。2015年だったよね。コンピューターとかが世界中で故障したのって。
Yeah, they did. And come to think of it, I vaguely remember something about that happening as well.
15年クラッシュでしょ。でもレポートに書かれてる内容はこうだ。
Say what you will about the report, Kaito, but it is no Twippo or @channel nonsense.
12年、15年、19年、20年に太陽嵐で深刻な被害が出るってね。実際には12年には大きな被害は出てないんだ。
Maybe nothing that people could see back then. Indeed, nothing happened. Or did it?
2012年って私たちが子供の頃、結構話題になってたよね。マヤの暦が終わる年だったから。 それと結びつけて地球は滅びちゃうんだっていう終末論をよくやってた。
I remember that as well. That was a long time ago. But I digress. Anyway, we get to learn about the wonderful world of Maya, an ancient civilization that arose in the area around present-day Mexico and Guatemala in 2600 BCE. It lasted for thousands of years before collapsing. The birth and collapse of Maya are both shrouded in mystery. The civilization was incredibly advanced, with the people of Maya known as Mayans building pyramids in the jungle and discovering the concept of the number 0. The Mayan calendar ends in December of 2012, and as a result, several doomsday theories sprung forth claiming that the world would end in 2012 because of it. Such rumors were popular in the 2000s, even in Japan. They even made a movie about it. But also, yeah. Well, I was going to say something about the number 0, but I won't.
In 2012年滅亡説を題材にしてね、ハリウッド映画なんかも作られたぐらいだし。
Yeah, there were a few of those. But nothing actually happened.
ちなみに今年はもう7月も途中だけど、太陽嵐のニュースとかって見た？ない。逆に全くないっていうのがちょっと怖いかな。
Well, the report did say that no information would be given.
隠蔽されるってそのレポートにも書いてあるし。
Junna has noticed that detail as well.
どうかな。
But one thing that I also did notice, is the fact that Kou Kimijima actually intended to send this report to somebody. Which begs the question, who was that person that he was trying to contact? Who was meant to receive this report? Would it even be possible to suppress information from an organization like NASA? I think his report implies that they are the ones who are going to be doing the suppressing there, Kaito. Though I guess giant organizations with immense sway are oft the subject of conspiracy theories. But none are more prominent than the organization. As a dude living in the middle of nowhere, it all just seems like silly fantasy tripe. Except it's not quite fantasy, at least in the sense I'm thinking of. The problem with conspiracy theories is that once you start questioning things, it never ends. Like an obsession, any trivial thing can be tied to a theory. At that point, it's just a delusion.
この短い文章の中に組織の名前がいっぱい出てくるよね。NASA とか旅ストックとかとある組織とかテロ計画をしようとする組織とか。この中でね、とある組織っていう書き方はこの文章の性質を考えるとなんかその変かもって思った。
Yeah. I understand your thinking there, Junna. Kou clearly deliberately avoided mentioning this certain organization directly.
殺されるかもしれないからこっそり誰かに伝えるために残したものならこれ告発でしょ？
Pretty much.
それなら情報はぼかさないはずだし。
確かにこれじゃ誰に向けて発信しているのか謎だよね。
A mystery that we're going to have to solve as well. On top of the other mysteries that we've already encountered.
ちなみにさ、これを書いた君島こうって人の名前に聞き覚えある
Daitoku-san shakes her head horizontally in response. Not surprising, since we didn't know about him until fairly recently. Her smile is somewhat strained.
聞いたことないかな。ごめんなさい。
I figured.
でもね、この文章の内容はよくわからないけど、ヤシオくんがこれを見つけた時の状況は面白いかなって。
Fascinating is not the appellation that I would use there, Junna. Fascinating.
種子島のあちこちにそんな怪文書が隠されてるかもしれないんでしょ？
Yeah. Except, we'd have to know where they are in order to find them. And, In order to even access them, Kaito would need the help of Irie, who he explicitly made very clear was never to contact him again under any circumstances. This report is designated number 1. So there could be other reports out there, provided that Kou managed to get them out before his disappearance / death. Though we can't determine his whereabouts right about now. Which means there could be a number 2 and beyond. Not that there's any guarantee of that.
探したくなっちゃうかな。
On the one hand, need to know is important, and on the other hand, uncovering these reports would definitely put us in the crosshairs of this certain organization, were they to find out.
探してみたら。手がかりは女の子の幽霊だよ。
幽霊じゃなくてなんとかアプリだってヤシオくん言わなかった？
Oh good, at least Kaito was kind enough to bring Junna up to speed about Irie. I think it introduced itself as a navigation interface app or something.
何にせよ、他のファイルがあるとしたら、その近くにはイルオでしか見えない女の子がうろうろしてる。
そう機会があったらなんとなく探してみるね。
Well, there's an element of danger here, but if you want to go find them, Junna, I won't stop you. Daitoku-san's smile is clearly forced. I probably shouldn't expect much. Sure.
いらっしゃい。
Well met again, Mizuka.
どうも、今日もお綺麗で。
Mizuka-san gives me a bored look and then goes back to sorting through sales slips.
スポンサー探しの件かい？それならめぼしいところは見つかってないから出直してきな。
Well, no going through passion through hell this time. Oh, that's right. I had her doing that too. I wonder how things went with the Space Candy Company. Yes, Kaito. Zakio made any progress with the president?
その件じゃなくて、ちょっと聞きたいことがあって。
情報が欲しいなら分かってんだろ。
For just a moment, Mizuka-san's languid eyes regained their brilliance. Well, here was me thinking we dodged a bullet there,
水
but
香さんって本当にド S だと思う。
あんたは地元名物の特産品を買うことで地域振興の役に立ってるんだよ。立派じゃないか。
you know you're gonna run out of those things sooner or later.
じゃあ、水香さんも一緒に食べる？
嫌だね。
Yeah. This woman is a demon. Even she knows how terrifyingly terrible they are.
でも、こんなことのために苦しみたくないんだよな。とりあえずさ、聞くだけ聞いて判断してもらえないかな。
ああ、まったく口だけは達者になっちゃって。
Mizuka-san shrugs and stops sorting the sales slips.
言ってみな。
Nay, nailed it. I lean in closer to Mizuka-san.
とある人物のことをなんとなく調べてるんだ。今回は水香さんも知らないってんならそれ以上無理して調べる気はない。
もったいぶってるんじゃないよ。こっちは忙しいんだ。
How so? I'm literally the only other person in the store. I imagine keeping this place maintained must be very busy, not to mention the operating costs.
多分島の人間じゃないとは思うし、しかも何年も前に亡くなってるんだけど。君島こうっていう人聞いたことある？
The very moment I say his name. Oh dear. Yeah. You know something, Mizuka Irei. Your expression says it all. You know that name. All of the color drains from Mizuka-san's face, almost as if someone poked a hole in it. I've never seen her react like this before. I might be as shocked as she is. And we didn't have to eat one of those passion fruit buns to get that. Does she actually know this guy?
どこで？
え？
I think we might have stepped on the tail of a serpent here,
ど
Kaito.
こでその名前を？
I didn't fail to notice that Mizuka-san's lips were trembling slightly as she muttered this. Exoskeleton Development, Tokyo, Misaki Senomiya. The elevator doors open heavily. The office that I step into is deserted. Even though there are plenty of other lights in the building. The 17th floor of the Exoskeleton Company HQ in Aoyama is exclusively occupied by the HUG testing department. While I'm usually doing PR work on TV, my real occupation is as a test pilot for HUG prototypes. Yeah, I thought there was a bit more to it than that. 3 million HUG units have been sold worldwide, but only a small number of the existing series models are for sale. Most prototypes never see the light of day, only undergoing repeated tests in the department. It's closing hours, so the lights are off in the test chamber. The pilots who work overtime are nowhere to be found. I already checked beforehand, but I take out my Pokécom anyway to reconfirm if there are still people left in the office. Things remain unchanged, which means there's only one person still here. I head straight for the section chief's room. The office door is wide open. I look inside the room to see Sawada sitting in his chair, looking at the monitor mounted to the wall. That would be the individual that was with you at ROBO-ONE.
失礼します。
I then step into the room. There are several monitors around here, all with diagrams and paraphernalia that are cut above the rest. Blueprints and diagrams that are clearly beyond most people. Well, saved for the most talented designers, I suppose. I closed the door behind me. This definitely feels like a room of importance. And it is you. Sawada gives me a quick glance, then appears to point me to the monitor with a jerk of his chin. On the monitor, footage from the ROBO-ONE Grand Finals that took place a few days ago is being shown. But it's not the footage aired on TV. It's a video taken from the venue's guest seats that day. He probably acquired it from someone in the audience. He truly is a cunning man.
見たか
試合でしたら。
いや、彼の動きだ。
Yeah, they've been observing him. It's obvious which of the two operators he's referring to.
オンエア版ではオペレーターが映っていなかったからな。映っているものを探すのは骨が折れた。
おっしゃっていただければ私が手配しましたが。
I'm sure you could have, Misaki.
必要ない。君は忙しいだろう。それよりも彼だ。
Sawada points the pen he was fiddling at at the monitor.
やはり一時的にではあるが、常軌を逸した動きを見せている。あの時感じた違和感は気のせいではなかった。
If you felt unease, you were not the only one. Kaito did as well.
彼は異常だよ。間違いなくね。
And yet something tells me that, something tells me that you wouldn't be nearly as interested in Akio as you are Kaito. Because while Kaito's symptoms allow him to perceive time faster, Akio's time slows down.
少なくとも人間技ではない。
その少年についての調査報告をまとめました。ご覧になりますか？
ずいぶん時間がかかったな。
どういう意味でしょうか？
邪推するつもりはない。報告を聞こ
う。データを転送します。
And there's Misaki's company Pokecom, aka Phone Droid, which I still think is a cooler name. I fiddle with my Pokecom.
メール受信。
Sawada receives it and looks at his own Pokecom screen.
八潮海斗、現在18歳。2001年5月5日生まれ。鹿児島県種子島出身。職業は学生。9年前のアネモネ号事件の被害者の一人です。
And he wasn't the only one, Misaki.
ほう。
Sawada's sharp gaze pierces through me.
では、あの超人的な動きには沈黙の兵器が関係していると。
Those abilities of his might be abnormal, but they're not superhuman.
はい。
Silent weapon.
八潮海斗の反射神経の急激な上昇は 実験の後遺症です。
An experiment by who? Phase 3. If my dream came to an end, I'd be really sad. Troposphere regulator. I'm surprised I was actually able to read that as quickly as I did, but I did. Chapter 3. Troposphere regulator. We're with Akio back at the airport. Doing some more maintenance on Gun Build 1. And I think I'll leave it there. So when we return, we'll see just how much maintenance Akio has done on the upcoming gun barrel project. And hopefully marvel with the improvements. As always, until next we meet.